Lumi. Is today Koziet is going to show up? Or are we just gonna sit here and chill for a little bit? Honestly, I'm okay with either. Hello everyone. Hi Aaron, thank you for being first. It's a pleasure to see you. 14 months, that is crazy. I feel a little bit sick. I made that cake this morning. I think I shared with everyone. I at least shared with Lumi and my brother. The Mountain Dew cake, I made a pineapple and coconut sort of topping to go on top of it. And it turns out that... yeah, I made a Mountain Dew cake for my father this morning. And I had a taste of it. It tastes so good. But the pineapple and coconut topping, like, not really icing, it's just more like just topping that I put onto it, absolutely fucked me up. So I am fighting that even though I had a single bite. I did not get my blacksmith to work. I accidentally uninstalled it and now it's gone and I can't get it back. But well, I may just install it and have to be the freebie version of Dark and Darker. I'm actually really excited to play that game again. It was a lot of fun back a year ago. But today marks the first episode of Monday Musings. I don't know if this is going to be a regular thing. Obviously it's going to be changing over time as I find my stride and figure out how I want this to be structured over the next few weeks. Maybe it will become a like actual podcast at some point. I don't know. But we are just going to be sitting here for about an hour or so, just chatting about basically whatever we want. I do have a wow, I need to take medicine. Nausea is hitting me real hard right now. I will never eat coconut again. This is crazy. It's a good thing I have nausea meds on hand. Thank you. It's fine, Lumi. It's fine, I'm used to it. Pop a pill and everything will be okay. The mark of the modern age. The modern age of modern medicine. Lumi gets my eyelashes. Aaron, you have everything else. Alright. But it's very interesting that I chose to talk about failure today. Because when I made the cake, it looked gorgeous coming out of the oven in its little like cake pan thing, and it was super light and super fluffy and like really jiggly because I put Mountain Dew in the cake batter, so the carbonation from the soda made it super airy and super light and delicate, and it tastes so good. But when I tried to flip it out of the cake pan, half of it came out and half of it didn't. So it's ironic that I chose failure to talk about today when I failed to do something for my father. But that just it brings me to one of my points that I was going to make about failure is not final. It's still a cake. It may be in pieces and it may not have come out exactly how I planned. But it's still a cake. It's still going to taste like a cake. It's still going to be enjoyed just as if it was the whole cake that's not in pieces. So the fact that it didn't go according to plan doesn't mean that I failed. And that's kind of like the entire point of what I wanted to talk about today, is just because something bad happened doesn't mean the entire endeavor was a waste, or that like the failure means it was useless to do. Because failure is not final. We'll all make mistakes, and it's just something that happens. I mean, we're human beings. We're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna fail. We're gonna fall down. But that doesn't mean that we're going to be a failure. We're not going to be a mistake. Because to fail is to act, and then we can just act again afterwards. You know? Like, failure is not a state of being. It's interesting that I used just soda and not a flavoring. Well, how would you describe the flavor of Mountain Dew? I don't think they have like Mountain Dew flavoring packets at the store. so I just used a bottle of Mountain Dew. It turned out really well. It's a very subtle Mountain Dew flavor. I could have probably used more soda, but it is what it is. If I used too much, I don't think it would have come together as a cake batter. But I think it tastes good. I'm waiting for it to cool down now before I put it in the fridge. And I'll be doing that after the stream. But yeah, it's very... I don't want to say it's ironic. It's probably more poetic than anything. That I fucked something up right before coming onto a stream to talk about how failure is not final. And I'm okay with the fuck up. Like, it's still a cake. It still tastes amazing. It's still going to be enjoyable. And I came to that realization, like, immediately. Whereas normally, like, if I had that happen to me, like, 2 years ago, I would have probably sat down on the floor of the kitchen and cried for about 5 minutes. Because this is going into way more personal stuff. The fear of failure and the fear of inadequacy used to be my biggest phobia. Because I was a gifted kid, the fear is too real. And yeah, and the fear is worse than the actual failure, if you come to think about it. Because I was a gifted kid in high school. I was in the honors programs, I was in the accelerated learning courses, I was reading college grade books in the 2nd grade. And like, the weight of expectation that gets put onto someone at that age, no one really understands that really fucks with someone. And I didn't understand that until a year or 2 ago, where you have this burden of expectation and you have all of these pressures of quote unquote potential placed upon you, and it is impossible to live up to that expectation. It is impossible to meet your potential. And so people who are often gifted burn out like real hard after high school. And that's a lot of that is, I want to say, the fear of failing, the fear of being inadequate. The fear of being inadequate, I think, is the biggest problem for a lot of people, because we live in a society where mistakes are punished without fail and without reason. Like, it could be an honest, minor, super minor mistake that doesn't even matter. Hello, Natia. Welcome to the stream. Your stream was very long, and I can't believe I went to the store and baked a cake while you were still streaming. But yeah, so we're gonna be talking about failure for a little bit here, but the fear of it and the fact that if I fail, then that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. I used to be incredibly scared of failure, used to be incredibly scared of being inadequate, and coming from someone who was naturally good at just about everything that I tried, where if I did something and I did it wrong or it didn't come out correctly the very first attempt, I would never touch it again. And that was me being afraid of failure as a kid, because of this burden of expectation of I was meant to be great. I was meant to do great things and use my intellect to progress society, I suppose, is like the core of the expectation placed on me. And I'm not special in that way. There's plenty of other gifted kids all over the world who experience the exact same thing. And I'm pretty sure we all have this deep-seated, ingrained, conditioned fear to fail, because we were never told that we could fail. And that's deeply tragic, because we learn more from failure than we do from success. It's like, if the cake I made this morning came out perfectly and it came out of the oven like stellar, and then it came out of the cooking pan or the baking pan without fail, I don't know what I would have learned. But what I did learn today, specifically, is that it's still a cake. Even if it's in pieces, even if it's like it was a nightmare of a boss fight, but you didn't want to end the stream on the cusp of finishing the game. I did see a little bit of it. I I have your stream on at like 2% volume so I can like keep an eye on chat because I am a mod, but I wanted to play Cyberpunk myself at some point, so I didn't want to get spoiled. So I just sort of lurk in the background. And that's another thing. You know, video games teach us how to fail in a very safe environment. Like, if you die in a video game, then you just restart. And maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's not a good thing. Because there's no consequences to failing in a video game. Sometimes there are consequences to failing in real life, depending on the failure. But at the end of the day, and I think this is the biggest takeaway that I have, if I don't die, then it obviously wasn't that bad of a failure. You appreciate the hard work? I don't know if just lurking and checking chat is hard work, but yeah, I'm here for you, pal. We all got a small prize. We all gotta stick together, and we ascend together. Me, you, Sartana. Well, look at roguelikes. You have to lose to spend resources and get further. Honestly, Aaron, I had this thought when I was playing Wizard of Legend last week, is that a roguelike is like the perfect framework of how you should view failure. Because you play the game, you spend time in it, you gather resources, and you put effort into it, and then you die and you have to restart. But that doesn't mean like you're starting back from scratch, because you have experience now. You know how to do things a little bit better. You can go a little bit further. You are a little bit more powerful and stuff like that. So, like, even if you fail, you don't lose everything, because you still have the skill that you acquired before you failed. And that'll help you the next run. And that'll help you in the next run. And eventually, you'll be able to beat the game. And that's true for life. If you want to break down any possible skill or endeavor or secret or business venture, it's a roguelike, essentially. You build something up, and then you probably fail, and then you have to restart. But you take what you learned from that first failure and apply it to the second endeavor, and hopefully that second endeavor goes better. But it's still probably going to fail, and I hate the fact that no one ever tells anyone that failure is guaranteed. Like, we will 100% fail at something in our life. And people get so afraid of failing that they don't even try, when all they have to do is try and fail and just try again. And obviously, like, I can say that all I want, but I still have that fear of failure. Like, when I was sitting here right before hitting the start stream button, I was nervous because I didn't know if I could do a just chatting stream where I just talk about my thoughts on failure for like an hour. So I was like super nervous. I was like, what if I mess up? What if this isn't as entertaining as I thought it could be? Or what if I'm not as smart as I thought I was? Like, I'm not able to like get my points across as well as I could have. But I hit the start stream button anyway, because I'm done letting my fear of failure stop me from living life. And obviously sitting here talking into a microphone, dressed up LARPing as a anime cat girl, I don't know if you could consider that living life. And honestly, how am I going to put this? Oh, fuck it. I am living life. I'm here. I'm spreading my knowledge. I'm giving wisdom to people who probably don't even need it. But I'm here. I'm here to be entertainment. I'm here to be education. If someone gets something of value out of this, then this entire thing is not a failure. And I've been doing this for years, probably half a decade at this point. You know, if you look at my my subscriber button, I have 42 months of having the subscribe button, and a lot longer before that where I was streaming and I didn't have the subscribe button. And I'm finally starting to see like some sort of semblance of growth, and I'm finally able to like build my style of like who I am as a streamer and as a human being. And that came from years and years and years of practice and having an empty chat room and honestly feeling like a failure. But I kept going. I kept pushing through it. Like, the fear did not stop me, and the fear should not stop you guys. Because the fear is worse than the failure. And that's the crux of it. Like, we keep ourselves from living to our greatest potential because we're afraid of, I don't know, the ridicule of not doing something right, of like having people see us mess up. That's kind of fucked. If we let other people decide what we can and can't do based on their judgments of us. Like, look at any, oh geez, look at any like professional sports person. Like, they're not 100% successful all the time. It's impossible to be. Like, Michael Jordan isn't going to hit every shot that he takes, but he's still one of the best players of all time in basketball. And that's the, like, come on. Everything we do is a risk, and everything we don't do is a risk. And I would rather risk doing something and having it maybe fail than not do something and guarantee it will not be a success. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing Monday Musings, because I realized over the past week or so, well, I've known this for a lot longer, but I didn't realize until a week ago that it could possibly be something that I brought to stream, where I love talking about philosophy and I love doing these like life lesson sort of things. And I want people to understand that life is not the way that they think it is. It's hard. You're going to fail. The path is muddy and broken, and there's rocks and fallen trees in the way. And that's okay. That's life. You're going to stumble. You're human. And people don't get taught that. And so here I am, at 26 years old, still living with my parents, almost dying from a multitude of diseases and conditions. And I'm here to tell you that you can fail, that you don't have to live up to other people's expectations, because I certainly have not. And I'm okay with that. Howdy, Chase. Welcome to the stream. Please play game. I am not playing a video game today. I am just chatting. You pay to watch me play? You're paying me to watch me think right now. It's this thing where if you look at my life on the outside, from the outside in, I'm kind of a bum. I'm kind of, I don't want to say a waste of space, but I'm not living up to the potential that I could be. And that's okay, because I'm not, I'm a human being with my own pathologies and issues that I can work through. And even if I'm not great right now, I'm not a great man, I'm not famous or rich or powerful or anything like that, that's okay for me not to be right now. It's a process, and it will be a hard process. I will fail to do what I want to do. I will pick myself back up and I will attempt something else. Less than 1% of anyone gets those things anyway. Exactly. So the fact that I'm not living up to my potential means nothing, because no one else is either. And I don't need to worry about the opinions of someone else to determine if I'm as good as I could be. And of course, I'm not, but that's okay, because I'm still me. I've had my failures. I'm still alive. Somehow. But it wasn't the failures, it's not the failures that's going to kill me. It's the lack of trying to do anything at all in my life. Because the one thing that I want most in this world is that I want to have a positive impact on at least one person. and I don't really care who it is, to be honest. Like, it could be a kid, it could be my kid. I don't have a kid yet, but maybe one day. It could be some random person on the internet who watches this, or it could be, I don't know, someone I give a $1 to on the street. Amen, amen. It's like, I think the purpose of my life is to, maybe this is a little bit conceited sounding, but I want to spend my life spreading these messages to the people who need to hear them the most. And I think within the streaming sphere and the VTubing sphere, there are a lot of people who are afraid of failing, who hate themselves, who think that they're worthless, who don't consider themselves to be, who don't think they matter. And I've never met anyone who did not matter. And I wish I could help them see the light of their existence, because they positively impact one person in their life, at least. And oftentimes the darkness within ourselves keeps us from seeing the light. And the moment that we do see that, that's the time that we stop fearing failure. And that's the time we stop fearing ourselves. Book win. I need to synthesize a little bit more. I need to write it down. And before $10 million book deal, we'll see. I'll check my business email after this, see if any talent scout was watching. But no, it's a sort of like enlightenment process, I suppose, is probably the best way to put it, where I'm currently going through the process of becoming a voice that I would have wanted to listen to 5 years ago. And I think the best person for me to help is the person who I was 5 years ago. And that's what I'm doing. And that was just 10 years ago. If I can help my past self, then I can help someone else who's going through what I went through back then. And since I'm not special, I know there's other people going through what I went through, because I'm not unique. I matter and I'm important, and I have unique experiences that make me who I am and give my life value. But that doesn't mean that my struggles are unique. Because I can think of 1,000 gifted kids who went through the exact same thing I did, who are currently going through the exact same thing I have. And they're in the middle of the dark forest that I have finally broken free of. And if I could just push a couple of them out of the woods, I think that would be... I think I would be okay with that. I would be okay with... I would have felt like I lived an okay life. If I could just help a couple of people see that they're greater than their expectations placed upon them. If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm just rambling. I have a lot of like random quotes that I look at, but I don't really have any. What I say here is just a stream of consciousness. Like, I don't have any like structure to what I'm saying. And maybe I need to work on that for future Monday Musings. If I'm going to be doing this week after week, I should probably spend the week structuring what I'm going to say, how I'm going to say it. I think that would be helpful. Or it could just be stream of consciousness. I watch it back on it and then structure it afterwards so that I can write a book and sell it for millions of dollars. Because we're all about the money. Let's say that. I've got other projects for the money making. This stream was never about money. If it was, I would have quit a long time ago. the appeal is the conversation too, right? Right, and that's why I'm streaming it and not making it a YouTube video, because I do want to eventually get to a point where I have an audience of people who would genuinely enjoy listening to me and would ask me questions during these musings, and we sit and just talk about it. And you know, I'm 26 years old. I don't really leave the house, so I don't really have that much life experience, but I think a lot, and I can muddle through a lot of problems. So I think the collaborative nature of a stream would be very helpful if someone were to come in here and ask a life question. And we can sit here and I could say my piece, chat can have their own input, and then we just talk about it. I think that is my dream stream, I suppose. Because a lot of people love playing video games, and a lot of people just, you've been bumping around with this idea. Life comes from you, not at you. What do you think? I know exactly where that came from. But I agree. Life does come at you, but that's in moments. How you respond to what life throws at you, that comes from within, and that determines who you are. So the true, no, it's not life that comes at you, it's circumstances that come at you, and you live life based on those circumstances. There's a difference between life and life circumstances. And no, ad break. I need to turn those off. I need to turn those off during Monday Musings. That gives me time to hydrate at least. Circumstances exist, yeah. And that's where the life coming from you takes place. That's the point of it, where life circumstances will hurt you. It's all about how you deal with them. And that's life. How you deal with what is happening to you is life. How you view the world is life. How you act, how you portray yourself, the virtues that you follow, the mottos that you keep, the way that you treat the people in your life. That's living. That's how life comes from you. And the world responds to you in ways that you will never understand, that you can never expect. But usually it follows the pattern of what you put into it is what you get out of it. And so if you're an angry and bitter person, then you're going to attract anger and bitterness to you. And you're not going to have a good life because you're angry and bitter, and the world is going to reflect that back at you. And it becomes this sort of spiral where the angrier you get, the angrier life becomes at you. And then so you just get angry and angrier. And if you just let yourself be reactive, you're not going to have a good life. You have to proactively choose to live a decent life. You have to proactively choose to see beauty. Because once you're able to see beauty in life, you'll never be able to unsee it. It's going to be everywhere. And that anger and misery that you feel is going to disappear. And I have just reached that point, maybe in the past couple of months, where I finally see the beauty of life. And that's why I'm here. I should be dead. I've said that multiple times, and I'm very open with that fact, where I wanted to die for the longest time. And the only reason why I am not dead, besides the miracle of modern medicine, is this sense, the belief, I suppose, that there is only a finite amount of suffering that goes on in the world, and it is always equal to the amount of joy that's in the world. So if I'm able to burden myself with as much suffering as I could possibly handle, then the amount of overall suffering that the rest of the world feels goes down, because I'm handling so much of it. And I'm going to take a quote from David Goggins here. You might have heard this one, Chase. I have to be strong because other people cannot be. Every time you win, someone else has to lose. I don't think so. No. That's not what I'm coming at here. Life is not a zero-sum game. BRB meeting. Oh. Life is not a zero-sum game, but I want to believe that, I genuinely want to believe that if I bear my cross, and if I am able to bear a cross that is large enough, then other people's crosses will not be as large, and they will not have to suffer as much as I would. That's how I kept myself alive for years. The amount of suffering that I was in was beyond bearable, I guess is probably the best way to put it. But I bore it, and I grew stronger from it. And we've stepped away from failure. That's kind of the point of these streams of conscious. That's the point of the stream, honestly. It's like we start off with a topic and then we just go on to other topics, because that's the way that conversation happens. We all suffer, and we're all going to deal with that suffering in our own special ways. It is up to us to find a healthy coping mechanism, I suppose. And I think me being so close to death for so long helped me realize that I am not a failure. I never was a failure. So I'm trying to bring it back to the failure. Like, you know, as I said before, failing is not final because you're still alive. If you fail and you don't die, then it's not real failure. So I have failed in a lot of endeavors. I've fucked up a lot of things in my life. I've made so many mistakes, but I'm still alive, and I've learned from every single one of those failures and mistakes. And every time I mess something up, I become better. And I have seen death. I've looked death in the eye. I've danced with death. And now those failures that I was destroying my soul through guilt over, they no longer feel as impactful because they did not get anywhere close to ruining me as this sickness was. So we're at the point where I can fail and I can mess up and I can have a bad day and it's not going to ruin me. It's just like with the cake. It's still a cake. It may look bad, it may be in pieces, but it's still a cake. So I didn't fail. And I think that might be the name of the chapter whenever I write about failure. Is it's still a cake. And going off of that specifically, it's still a cake. It still tastes like a cake. It's still going to be enjoyed like it's a cake because it still is a cake. Like the way that something is presented to the world doesn't matter nearly as much as we want it to. Something can be very pretty, but it's rotten on the inside. You know? Like the golden apple that poisons Cinderella, I think it is. Or no, Sleeping Beauty. The golden apple that put Sleeping Beauty to sleep was very pretty on the outside, but not worth it on the inside. And the same thing goes for the cake. The opposite thing goes for the cake, actually. Where it looks like shit. It looks like absolute garbage. It looks like an absolute mess. But it's still going to be delicious. Because it's still a cake. It's got all the components of a cake. I followed the steps of making a cake. It didn't come out quite as planned, and that's okay. Plans never survive. And people get so caught up. Good morning, Mobius. How are you doing? people get so caught up in trying to make every single little detail perfect that they can't be flexible enough to just allow mistakes to happen. And that's how organic beauty comes into being, is when something is not perfect. Just woke up tonight yet? How are you? Just woke up and you're here. Well, good luck. Hope you have a good day. When you do realize like how you're doing, hope it's well. We are currently episode 1 of Monday Musings is talking about the fear of failure and how the fear itself is worse than failure. And that's kind of true for everything. It's like whatever we're worried about, the worry and anticipation itself is often worse than the event. It's very often the case. You didn't even see the Koziet of Kato's going live? That's on me? Hey, no worries. I didn't advertise this one on Twitter because I wasn't really sure if anyone would even be interested in listening to me talk about failure. Which would be very ironic if my stream about talking about failure failed because no one saw it. But people are here, so we're not failures here. Hello, Sora. How's it going? Welcome. We've spent 40 minutes talking about failure and the fear of it, and the fact that it's not the end of the world if we mess up. People need to hear it. People need to hear that. Not enough people get to be able to forgive themselves immediately after they make a mistake. And that is a product of our conditioning, that we have to be perfect. That if we make a mistake, then we are a mistake. And that's just not true. And I said this at the very beginning of the stream, where how come this is the first time I've heard your voice? It's because it's the first time you've met me. We've known each other for like a day. But yeah, so like to fail is an act. We have done something that did not go as planned. Not because you were in a VC previously. Was I? I don't think I was. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. I was just muted? Oh. I don't remember being in the VC, but that's just me. That's me. I have a bad memory. What was I saying? What was I saying? Oh, geez. Failing. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So we often get punished multiple times for a single mistake. The fear of being wrong is one of the most self-destructive fears around. Yes, I agree. And that was my biggest fear as a kid. Growing up, I'm just gonna repeat myself, honestly. When I was a kid, when I was in elementary school and high school, I was considered a gifted kid. I was considered very smart. You know, I was reading college level books in the 2nd grade. And no, the teachers all said I was incredibly smart. My parents told me I was incredibly smart. The people around me could tell that I was incredibly smart. And I was, as a kid, you don't really have a concrete identity for yourself. And you don't really have a way to, you don't have a self-image. You just have what other people tell you that you are. And my self-image was that I was very smart and I was very good at, like, naturally gifted. And because of that, I felt like if I did something and I messed up, then I was a failure because I wasn't good at this specific thing. And that haunted me for so long and so greatly that I never tried anything new for a very long time. I stuck to what I knew. Every time I tried to do something different, I would get such severe anxiety attacks that I actually dropped out of college a week after starting because I was doing something that I wasn't familiar with. If you're so smart, then I'm not allowed to be wrong because smart people aren't wrong, which means everything has to be perfect or I'm not smart, which everyone tells me I am. So if I'm not smart, then I'm nobody. Exactly, Mobius. Exactly. Unlearning this stuff is so tough. Yes, because we learn it at such a young age that it becomes part of our core identity. And to change your core identity is to completely destroy your sense of self and restart. And that's such a difficult thing to do for the vast majority of people. It took me literally being one step from death to realize that my intelligence means nothing. That it doesn't matter if I'm smart. It doesn't matter if I've not reached my potential yet. It doesn't matter. I'm never going to reach that expectation. So I shouldn't care about it. And it took me literally almost dying to figure that out. That's how hard it is to unlearn this stuff. And I agree with you 100%, Mobius. The absolute worst thing you can do to someone who has been told they are smart their entire lives is to put them in a room with other smart people. The moment that they become average, especially if you're in high school and then you go off to college, let's say like if you're incredibly smart in high school and then you go off to Harvard and you're suddenly surrounded by other people who are just as smart as you, and you realize that you were a big fish in a small pond, and the moment that you get put into the ocean, you realize that you're not big at all. Like, you're not special, you're not unique, and that absolutely destroys people's like sense of self. I've seen it over and over again. You hate how real this is. Welcome to the stream. Hope you enjoy yourself. Welcome to Monday Musings. But yeah, so like I'm old enough to realize that I don't have to compare myself to other people. I don't have to live up to their expectations. I don't have to live my life according to what others feel. But I'm pretty sure a lot of us can relate to the burden of unmet expectations, because we've all had them placed on us, and we've all failed to reach them. And yet this is the hook. We're still alive. We're still going through each and every day. We're still progressing toward our goals. Even if we're not reaching other people's expectations. Gonna have to go to therapy for this? Hell yeah. The expectations that are set on us as children determine so much about our sense of self-worth and our self-esteem as adults that it's hard to detach yourself from that and look at it through an analytical lens. And I've been, I don't want to say fortunate, to be able to just sit and think for years, because I was hooked up to a machine for years. That I was able to realize that what other people thought that I should be doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter. They are living a life that I don't want to live, so their opinions about how I should live my life don't matter. They shouldn't matter. Because they want what's best for them through me. They don't actually want what's best for me. And the vast majority of the time, for someone who is intellectually gifted like I was, academic achievement is not the correct route. For the vast majority of people, most people will not find fulfillment in that. And I realized that. And I just realized that maybe about a year ago. I'm very smart. I keep saying that because not that I'm bragging, but I just want to drive this home. That I'm sitting here LARPing as an anime cat girl. So you tell me what my potential is. I'm positive my grandparents and my parents did not say that I have so much potential in being an anime cat girl online. Always love your well-developed insights. Mad props. Thank you, Bear. Thank you. It's years of thought. Years of thinking about this. So that's the key takeaway of this stream, is that you shouldn't let other people's expectations determine how you live your life. Can I quote you on that? That's amazing. Yeah, go for it. Anything that I say that you like feel like that you relate to, you can just take it. You could steal it. Starts blasting caramel dancing. Nah, it's fine. It's fine. So like, and I also want to say that it's not the failure itself that we're afraid of. It's the fear of being seen failing. I think is probably the bigger fear. Because I'm sure that if you like tried something in your room with no one around and it didn't go very well, you didn't feel too bad about it not going very well. I'm sitting here LARPing as an anime cat girl. You tell me what my potential is. That's close enough. That's good enough. I love that. And take this moment to hydrate. Yeah, take it. Anything that I say that you guys resonate with, you take it. Take it, run with it, share it, whatever. Like, I'm just a mouthpiece for ideas. Adding it as a quote in your channel right now. And that's the reason why I'm doing these musing. Like, that's the reason why I'm starting this stream segment. Is I will say something that other people will enjoy, and if you enjoy it and you share it, then that means that the message I'm trying to get across gets shared with the world. Like, I don't care if I'm famous. I just want as many people to understand what I understand. And it's so disheartening to see, especially on Twitter, like people who aren't growing as fast as they think they should, or who have like stagnated in follow numbers, like feeling bad about themselves and like feeling that they're a failure. And that's not the case. That's simply just not the case. Like, they're doing something that most people will never do. The simple fact that they're streaming and that they have 100 followers or whatever, they're better than 99% of all other people in terms of being a streamer. They're in the top 1%. And the fact that they're comparing themselves to the top 0.01% makes them feel bad when they don't even see the other 99% of all people. So, like, they're not a failure. They're still streaming. And the fact that they are still streaming means that they are a success. Because the game of streaming is an infinite game. And there are two types of games. I'm kind of like going off on a little tangent here. There are finite games and there are infinite games. And a finite game is very easy to understand. It's basketball, it's baseball, it's Call of Duty. There's a distinct rule set, and then there's a win condition. And then the game ends. That's a finite game. There's a winner and a loser. With an infinite game, you're the only player. There is no set win condition. There are no set rules. And you play it until you die or you quit. And the only way that you can fail in an infinite game is when you quit. And that is business. That is education. That is streaming. That is any hobby, like playing an instrument, or learning how to sing, or learning how to drawing, writing, painting, anything at all that you just continue working at, you are playing the infinite game. And just so long as you are playing it, you are winning it. And so with this stream, and all of us here are streamers, pretty much, as long as we continue to stream, we are winning the infinite game. And it doesn't matter if we don't grow nearly as fast as we should. Because eventually we will grow. Or we'll just stick to our small channels and we'll have a good time with a very intimate and personal group of friends. IRL is a survival sandbox with crafting elements and skill progression. Sartana, that just opened up an entire like realm of thought in my head, because you are actually 100% correct. Uh-oh, connecting the chat. Did I die? Okay. You can respec. At any point in your life, you can change who you are. You can just upend yourself and just say that you're a different person entirely. Like 6 months ago, I thought I was going to die. But here I am streaming and talking about failure. Like I'm a completely different person than who I was 6 months ago, and that's basically me respecing. I took all of my points from Constitution and put them into Wisdom. The idea of fame scares you, honestly. Being constantly scrutinized under a lens of unreal expectations and standards. Just a very scary thought to me, because people are going to be cruel to you if you have any real following, especially if you have numbers. And that's every gift that we have has a price to pay, and the gift of fame has the price of intense scrutiny. And I'm not afraid of fame, because I'm living true to myself. I am living as genuinely as I possibly can, and what you see on stream is who I am. I'm not playing a persona. I'm not lying to you. And so if I am put under the microscope of public scrutiny, I do not believe that they cannot hurt me, because their opinion of me does not matter. Because going back to the infinite game, I'm the player. They are not. They're the spectator. I'm the gladiator in the arena. They're in the stands watching me. And history tells the story of the person in the arena, not the person in the stands. Just the whole treating someone like they're a god or something is just, yeah, that's unavoidable. That is unavoidable. We cannot change how people treat us. We cannot. Well, we can indirectly change how people treat us. If we treat ourselves with respect, then people will treat us more with respect. It is a life is a reflection. The world reflects our souls back to us. So if you live virtuously, then you will find virtue in other people. And the problem with most celebrities and famous streamers and those types of people is that they live their life through a persona. And they act different on stream than they do off stream, or they act different on red carpet. They act different on the red carpet than they do in their private life, or something like that, where every single day there's a new story about a celebrity being a terrible person behind the scenes, because they're living life through their persona when they need to incorporate their ego. I'm talking about ego in the Freudian sense, not in like egotistical, like I'm like a god or something sense. Their inner self identity is not how they act. It's not how they make themselves appear to be in real life. And I want that to not be the case for me, where who I am inside is who you see on the outside. And I think I do a pretty good job of that. Obviously, there's some things about every single human being that you're just never going to know. And that's just the simple fact of how complicated each individual person is. Like, we cannot know everything about every single person. We don't even know everything about ourselves. Most people know very little about themselves, honestly. And that's a product of information overload in the modern world, because we have this thing in our pocket that gives us everything about everything all the time. Okay, so that's just not me. No, it's not. It's not. No one has a chance to actually like sit down and think anymore, because they're always distracted by social media or TikTok or the news or just something, or they're listening to music. Even just listening to music stops you from actually like sitting down and thinking. And one of the best things that I've ever done is I started going on walks with no music, where I don't even have my phone with me sometimes. Where I just put on a hat, put a backpack on with some weights on it, And I just go for a walk for like a mile or two. You do it in the first thing in the morning when like the sun is just coming out, and you kind of experience, I don't want to say divinity, because that's probably not the case. There's a sense of calmness and a sense of peace that comes over you when you're alone like that, and you're able to just like categorize things in your mind. Your therapist likes to go on about how the person who knows me best is me, and I'm like, no, I don't know myself very well. And that is something that you can change. That is something that you can change by writing, journaling. You sit and you just, here's what you do, Sora. All right, you're going to get a journal. It could be a Word document on your computer, for all I care. It doesn't matter. You just have to be able to put thoughts as words. You sit down and you ask yourself this question, 2 questions. What do I like most about myself and why? And what do I like least about myself and why? And this isn't a 5-minute exercise. This is something that you will spend an hour at the very least for each question. You write as much as you could possibly do, and you just let the words flow. And that's step 1 to like figuring out who you are as a human being. Did your dissertation on this, and you reckon folk find it hard to find themselves, is due to the size of our community. We're designed to be in small troops, 70 or so, and we've gone from little villages, small communities where I am John the blacksmith, this is my role and I am important, to 8 billion people and going, I am a drop in the ocean. Damn. Identity is weird. I love this. I am having so much fun. I really deeply enjoy this. I hope you guys are as well. Whoever's able to actually hear this. This is my dream. Just sitting here and just chatting and having these conversations. We back perfect, wonderful. So, what Sartana is saying is that back before the globalization of information and the globalization of community, is that everyone had a set purpose. Everyone had a defined role in society and a set identity. And that purpose and identity brought them each individual value. Excuse me. We now live in a world where we are just cogs in the machine. We each have intrinsic value as a human being because life is valuable in and of itself. I need to make that very clear right away. But we often lose sight of our value because we place our identity on the things that we do. For the most part, in America, at least, like, if you ask the vast majority of people, like, when you ask them, what are you? They will give you their profession. I'm a manager. I'm a banker. I'm a lawyer. I'm a doctor. Hello, pig. And their sense of purpose comes from their job that they can be replaced by. Like, they can be replaced in their job and the overall structure of the company will not change. And so we place our value on something that is replaceable. And that's the point of forming your own identity around the things that make you you. Not what your profession is, not a physical trait either, because physical traits mean nothing. They tell you nothing about the person inside. And so our value comes from our thoughts and our beliefs and our ideals and how we live life when we're not a mindless drone. So this is a path I have not gone down, so my words may be a bit slow coming to me and I may stumble a little bit. But this is the point of these sorts of conversations, where I also am learning as I explore this topic. You like to explore your own specific concepts and feelings in your characters, honestly. I agree, and that's a good way to do it, as long as you realize that it's a it's an exercise in self-identification as well. And I realized with all of the characters that I make, a core part of their motivation and their background and their stories is the concept of family. It is a rare character that I make where a sense of belonging to a greater community is not present. Your journaling doesn't work for you, so you switch it over to characters. Yeah, that's okay. Just as long as you're able to learn who you are, it honestly doesn't matter how. Being introspective can happen any way that you need it to happen, and journaling is the most common way to do it. Honestly, I don't keep a journal. I just think all of the thoughts are just in my head, and I mull over like certain questions for like days on end. I don't write anything down. So the $10 million book is a long ways away because I don't know how to write my thoughts down in a succinct manner. But yeah. So that's kind of where I am. Their sense of identity brings us our value, but a lot of people have their sense of identity set up on the wrong foundation. And so that's why you see so many people get so distraught and destroyed whenever they lose a job or their girlfriend broke up with them, because their sense of identity was attached to that label of being a certain profession or being in the relationship. Or I haven't really thought about this, so I may be wrong here. I need to do more thinking, but like even with something like gender expression, I don't think it's smart to have your entire identity revolve around something like that, because you are more complicated than that. Like, you're not just a guy, or you're not just a girl, you're not just trans or whatever. Like, you are a human being with all of its complexities and all of its failings and all of its blessings and like the miracle of life that is a human being. And simplifying it down to just like a handful of labels feels bad, I guess. Bad is the very, very vague, not good word to use there. That's the only word that's coming to my mind right now for me to be able to finish that thought. Elrius is the only character that you have struggles around trusting people. Finnan is about home, or feeling like there's no permanent home, and both are pretty important to me. Yeah, so we are the product of our environment at the end of the day. We are changed by the people around us. We are changed by the circumstances of our lives. But we do not have to be controlled by them. And the best way to... You are controlled by the things you do not understand, first and foremost. Some people rely on labels to know how to behave, but I agree that it's massively reductionist and limits what you feel you can do based on what you're stuck to your forehead. Agreed. And that's my thoughts on it. Where if I kept the label of gifted kid out of high school and went off to college thinking that I was a gifted kid, and I went into the computer science program with kids who were exponentially smarter than I was, my sense of self would be utterly destroyed, and I would have probably killed myself. But I didn't hold on to that label. I no longer consider myself a gifted kid. I'm smart, I'm intelligent, but I'm not gifted. I'm not special. And that's important to get past people, is that I'm unique. I am me. There's no one else in the world that is me, but there is no part of me that is special. It is the combination of everything that makes me me that makes me special. But take one part from me, and you'll find so many other people who also have that part. Like, there's so many other people who are smart. There are many people who are smarter than me. There are many more people who are funnier than me, who are wiser than me, who are better at talking than me, and all that sort of stuff. But you tell me a single person in your mind that can be a anime cat girl on the internet talking about this. It is the combination of all of my interests, all of my thoughts and values and virtues and sins, I suppose, all wrapped up in the single bundle that makes me who I am. And that's life. All of my successes, all of my failures, all of my experiences make me who I am. And that's true for everyone. So, I'm having so much fun. I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. This is like my favorite thing to do, honestly. I'm just sitting here talking about life and philosophy, I suppose is probably the best way to put it, but this isn't really like, I'm not talking about like utilitarianism or anything like that. It is just like my own personal thoughts on life. And obviously, I'm not old enough to really be considered like a wise old man. I'm not even 30 yet. But I have had a lot of time, a very unusual amount of time to be able to think about life and to be able to think about what I think about life, as strange as that sounds. So I think I've sort of speed ran to the point where like I'm a wizard. I don't know. Like I'm kind of like Gandalf the Grey at 26 years old. I just need I need to pipe in some smoke tricks. But yeah, and that's kind of why I play. Honestly, you love writing your villain characters because it gives you a chance to think about the worst aspects of yourself in a safe way. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. When escape wizards? Oh no, don't do this to me. I still have everything ready to go except for the final boss. I haven't been able to figure that one out yet. But I'm thinking of it. Howdy, Destroyer. How's it going? Hope you're doing well. And that's a great way. So in terms of Jungian psychology, there's this concept called the shadow, Sora. I don't know if you know about it at all or not, but it's basically it's going good. How about me? I'm doing fantastic. I'm having a great day today. So the concept of the shadow is all of the aspects of ourselves that we don't like, that we try to repress. That's the shadow, essentially. And what it sounds like you're doing with writing your villain characters is you are figuring out what your shadow is and bringing it into the light so that you can incorporate it into yourself. And that's not to say that you're going to be like a darker or more evil person. It is that the shadow doesn't have to necessarily be like anger or hatred or anything like that. For me specifically, my shadow was actually affection. As odd as that sounds, I was deeply terrified of being affectionate. I was very, very scared of showing how I truly felt to people because I was scared of being vulnerable. And so that turned into into my shadow, where I was fiercely independent. I refused compliments. I refused help in any way because I saw that as a sign of weakness. Like, I don't even do gifts for my birthday because receiving something was a sign of affection, and I couldn't stand that. And so that just gave you an example of the shadow doesn't have to be like a negative trait. it is a negative manifestation of something that can possibly be positive. And so the way to incorporate the shadow is to figure out what exactly the shadow is, and then realize what aspect of yourself is being hurt because of that, and then bringing it into the light and incorporating the positive side of it. So like, if your shadow is aggression, then the positive aspect of that would just be assertiveness and being able to stick up for yourself and stuff like that. One of the best villains is a manipulative character, and that's a direct result of what I was surrounded by as a young kid. Yeah. And as I said, like, what you experience in your childhood affects you well into your adulthood. And it takes a lot of self-analysis, a lot of self-awareness, and a lot of introspection that honestly probably needs to be guided by an actual psychiatrist to help you figure out what exactly is going on and how you can change that. And I'm not a psychologist, so I can't really help you with that. I'm just a guy on the internet. I'm just a cat girl. But I love philosophy. I love psychology. In a more intellectual sense, I would be a terrible therapist. So going to therapy even now to help fix some of the trauma mine caused, yeah, and that's perfectly okay. I've been going to therapy for a few years now, and yeah, therapy is good for you. It is the middle of Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. For the most part, therapy is good for you. So I highly recommend, even if you don't think that you're mentally unwell, I still think it's a good idea to go to therapy to have like a sort of checkup. Sort of like how you go to a car to get your oil changed. Sometimes you just need to go to a therapy and just talk about life for an hour to someone who understands it. Even if you already feel like you're doing okay. Gotta be ready and willing for it though. That is true. That is very true. The vast majority of men don't think they're hurt, or they're not willing to admit to themselves that they need help, because it's a lot of men don't want to look weak, and it's unfortunate. But I think we're slowly breaking out of the stigma of men's mental health. Else it doesn't work. Yeah. Talking therapy was good for you, just a place to vent and acknowledge feelings where you can't otherwise. That is true. That's true. It's helped me a lot. When I was a kid, I talked about my fear of being vulnerable. So that meant I showed no emotion. That meant I tried to feel no emotion. It was this sort of like intellectual pride, I suppose, that I had as a kid, where like my entire identity was revolved around my intelligence. So of course I was, the next evolution of man, and I wasn't beholden to the animalistic urges of desires or emotions or feelings. I was homo intelligentsia, I think is what I came up with in my head, instead of homo sapien. Which, thinking about it now, that's so fucking cringe. But when I was in middle school, that's what I truly thought, that I was just better than everyone around me because I was smarter. And that destroyed me as a human being. Like, going into high school with that thought process, I had no friends. I did not smile. I did not talk. I was deeply bored, and then I was deeply sad. I was depressed. I was lonely. And I didn't realize that it was because of how I viewed myself above everyone else until I started going to therapy, and I realized, wait, I am a human. I am allowed to feel emotions. I'm not the next evolution of humankind. We're monkeys in shoes, and we need to acknowledge that, but except we're bright enough that we have responsibility. Yes. And I came to the realization that everyone around me were monkeys in shoes, but I was different. And that's what destroyed me. And now I have come to realize that I am not special. I am just as much of a monkey as everyone else. I remember going to art therapy and getting progressively more frustrated and upset when they tried to take away the structured aspect of your art. Like they wanted expressionist shapes rather than the structured stuff I like to draw. I have never heard of art therapy. An oven over the feeling of an oven. I have never heard of this. This is intriguing. I don't think I would be very good at it. Because I am autistic. And so, like, I can't conceptualize the feeling of an oven. That makes absolutely no sense to me. No, but same. Yeah, so you also have to realize that not every form of therapy is good for you because you are an individual. Not every therapist is going to be good for you. I went through multiple doctors. I went through multiple therapists until I found the one that was right for me. So I kept getting frustrated with it. Yeah, so it seems like it wasn't meant for you, and that's okay. Not everything is going to work out. And oh, Hook! That was a failure. Technically, that was a failure. Art therapy was a failure. But you're still alive. You're not dead. You've moved on. You pushed through it, and you found something better for you. Welcome to the idea of success, where it is built upon the foundation of failure that you decided to not quit on. Not yet, but you're trying still. That's the important thing. The trying is the important thing. You have a degree in psychology, and you could say without a shadow of a doubt, a lot of folks going into therapist roles should not be going into therapist roles. 100% I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly. There's a good one's amazing. If you aren't gelling or you're getting off vibes, get a new one. Agreed as well. And that's what I did multiple times. I went to one therapist. I sat in her office for 20 minutes, and then she gave me an autism diagnosis without running any tests. Like she just straight up said I was autistic. And I was like, I kind of don't appreciate that sort of labeling immediately. I don't like that. I'm gonna go somewhere else. And then I did an actual test and I was actually autistic, so. But the vibes were off, so I don't regret leaving her. She was actually not a very good person. But yeah. Isn't that kind of happened to me when you were 20? Except it was over Zoom. Interesting. The concept of a late diagnosis of autism, actually, like, thinking back on it, a lot of things in my childhood make a lot of sense because of that diagnosis. But I don't like... We've talked about this before. I don't like labels, so I never say I'm autistic. I don't like bringing it up because I don't want to use it as a crutch. Because even if my brain is structured differently, I can still consciously put in the effort to be emotionally available and to be empathetic. And so it's not a mask. Like I'm genuinely feeling what I feel. So the label of autism I don't like, because I can change myself to not I can change myself to not be autistic, as kind of like fucked up as that sounds. I remember this one time you kept being told to do visualization type things, but I lacked the ability to see stuff in my head, which makes it frustrating. I can imagine how that would be frustrating when you're told to do something that you physically cannot do. And then I imagine the frustration of that came from the lack of understanding on the other person's part, where they didn't realize or they didn't believe what you were incapable of. Kept reiterating the fact that you couldn't. So the dangerous thing about saying I can't is that sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. And I think a better question, now obviously, like when it comes to like visualization in your head or imagining the feeling of an oven rather than imagining an oven, some things you just physically can't do, but other things, I think it's a healthier question to ask, how can I, rather than just say I can't. Because the concept of I can't is the same as a label to me. Where you say like I can't do something, that just means you're not able to do that. It's a loser mindset. Yes. That obviously applies to a lot of things where it's like for streaming, where if I said I can't grow past 5 viewers, then that limits me to just 5 viewers. And that will always be a limiting mindset in an endeavor. But there are still some things that I literally cannot do. Like I can't lift 100 pounds. Like that's just physically impossible for me to do right now. I can push myself to get there, but right now I literally cannot do that. You could pull from memory, like you know what a cat is. It was my attempt at a workaround, but it wasn't good enough for one of the exercises, so it was like, okay, skip this one then. And so like if you have to skip exercises in therapy, like are you really getting your money's worth out of it? Honestly. And I would say no, you're not. So bad therapist. It was free? Okay. So money, you're getting your money's worth out of it, but were you getting your time's worth out of it? It's a waste of time at that point. Because you can either pay with money or you can pay with time. And you know, money you can get back, time you cannot. So I'm not going to say it was a bad therapist, I'm just going to say it was a bad fit. I'm taking a moment to hydrate myself. I've been talking nonstop for an hour and a half. I honestly don't know how to end this stream. I could probably just go on talking forever, to be honest. Not everything works. It's good for you to know that exercise and won't work for me personally. Yeah. And no, every time you fail, it's a learning experience. And if you learn something from failing, then it's not really a failure. Because the next time you do it, you'll be better at it. Or you'll have more knowledge and you'll be able to discern quicker and easier if this thing is like right for you. So you don't see it as a waste of time personally? Yeah. Yes, I agree that you shouldn't view most things as a waste of time if you're getting something valuable from it. But never end, Lumi. I cannot talk ad nauseum. I physically cannot do that. You view most things as a waste of time. That's probably not a very healthy mindset to be in. Because just sitting here chatting for an hour and a half about failure or about identity or about therapy, like, is this a waste of time? Or because I could be doing other things that are just as productive or more productive on other projects, depends on your goals. Okay. Because I could be working on my shirt store. I could be working on Beyond the Stat Block. I could be working on any skill that I would like. I would maybe like learn how to sing or learn how to draw or learn graphic design or like making more shirts to sell instead of sitting here chatting. But I get so much value from these chats, even if we're just like talking in circles. So for me, this chat is not a waste of time. Your goal is to retire at 35. You have about 2,300 days to make that happen, so anytime you spend not working on that is a waste. So there's a concept of direct work and indirect work, and I think it's important to take a break every now and then so that you can refresh yourself and so you can be more efficient. And there's the adage, the story of two lumberjacks going to work at the same day. Your break is in 2,300 days. Don't burn yourself out. I know that physical contact with the stimulus, like a fidget toy, or better yet, a plush or comfort items, rather than trying to imagine some happy place in your head. I have so many fidget things. I have a ring that I fidget with. I have a dull butterfly knife. I have a fidget spinner. Like, I've got these things on my desk that I play with because, you know, they actually help me. God damn it, ad break. Burnout exists where non-controllable factors impede progress. You are a very intense person. You are... What happened to you? You were not like this 3 years ago. Who hurt you? I'm gonna take this time to hydrate again. Wow, the hummingbird feeder camera is going crazy. You saw the opportunity to retire at 35, and then you got the rest of your life to be free to do what you want with all my friends and family. I suppose. I suppose if the opportunity is there, and you don't want to toil till you're 65 and then retire missing all your life. Yeah, that's fair. You know, I think that's true for everyone. But you have to take into account the stress that is cutting your life short. So even if you retire at 35, you might die at 40 from a heart attack. So then it doesn't matter. And I know you're already on borrowed time. Same! We're all on borrowed time. Working non-stop is going to tire out your brain. You have an ADHD diagnosis, so I have a little more experience with that, you guess. Tasks that I don't find enjoyment and tire me out quickly, so I try to break it into smaller pieces. You don't like to talk about your upbringing because it feels like whinging. And it feels like whinging because no one cared at the time it happened. Okay, so I don't have experience with ADHD, so I don't have a diagnosis, so I can sit and like focus on something for a very long time, even if it's something I don't like. So I can't really speak to that, but I can speak to what Mobius has said, where not wanting to complain about, no, that's not, complaining is the wrong word. Not wanting to bring to light what happened to you as a kid is a sign that you definitely need to go to therapy to talk about that with a licensed therapist who is being paid to care. That was a targeted attack. Friendly fire will not be tolerated. So, I also don't like talking about my past because it does also feel like complaining. But at the same time, it adds context to how I am as a person today. And I think it would be helpful in your case, Mobius, if you also had that same mindset. Where the past made you who you are today, but it cannot be helped. It cannot be changed. And so the past doesn't matter, Kappa. That's why the windshield is bigger than the rear view mirror. Okay, that's... I think the past does matter, but we can't let the past control us. Because the past makes us who we... Our ability to process the past makes us who we are today. And so if we're able to sit down and process our past in a healthy way, then we can use the traumas of our past to make ourselves stronger in the present and the future. And so you can ignore the past, but it will be a subconscious worm in your psyche that will make you pathological in some way. You have to bring it into the light and you have to analyze it, and it will be uncomfortable. It will be uncomfortable to think about your past traumas, your childhood issues, but you have to do it. You actually have to do it. And having a professional guide you through that process is a wonderful idea. Like when your brother was mean to me. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. We had, compared to other siblingship that we had, Chase, you and I got along just fine. Thank you for the hydrate. And even now, like, I say we get along better now than we did ever when you were actually living at home. And kind of grew up, kind of matured. It's because we live a nation apart. That is true. We're not in each other's business all the time. But yeah, I do honestly believe that evaluating our past and finding the root cause of certain behaviors within the past is the first step to overcoming our past and our pathologies. So while you might think it's whinging to talk about your past, you have to do it. You're trying to be contrarian to stimulate some combos. Yeah, that's fair. It's fine. If the past doesn't matter, then you wouldn't have struggles with trauma, flashbacks, fears, etc. But I do because it does. But you gotta keep trying to find a way to move forwards. Yes. And this I think is going to be a hot take. I think. Past traumas cannot be ignored. They cannot be trigger warninged away. And I think a massive part of the overall spiritual weakness of the people today is because they refuse to look their fears in the face. Where they want to be comforted and they want to hide from their traumas. And they want to have trigger warnings. They want to be in a safe space all the time. And that's living a life of fear. And that's building an entire generation with anxiety issues and psychoses and pathological problems. Do you agree, but you need to take it in baby steps? Of course. And the concept of exposure therapy is you expose someone to something that they don't like. One step. No, you start out with something that they are comfortable with, and then you take a step further. And then you just sit there and you wait until they're comfortable with that extra step. And then you take another step. So, but people don't do that. People just say, I'm scared of this, or I'm traumatized by this, and they just completely try to shove that in their closet and ignore it. And when it's brought to light in a way that is outside of their control, they shut down. And that's not healthy. And I don't know how we can fix that on like a fundamental societal level. I don't think you can, because I think it's stupid. It's unrealistic to expect that I can change society as a whole, as a single human being. So the best thing that I can do is to change myself and be an example for the people around me to hopefully let them know that they can also change. Because I cannot change other people myself. They have to want to change. I can only show them the result of the change by being the change itself. I like that. I like that. That came together well, in my head at least. But I feel that's kind of a hot take. You have an intense fear of crowds as they overstimulate me easy. Going from a smaller group to a larger group is easier, but being dumped immediately into a crowd will make you flip out. That's, yeah, I can see that. That's acclimation. And I also get overstimulated in crowds. I don't say I have a fear of them, but I definitely don't want to be inside of one. I just don't enjoy the process of being in a crowd. There's actually not a lot of things that I am truly afraid of that I could expose myself to. Is that a... I don't know. Almost dying kind of freed me from a lot of my fears. Yeah, both honestly, the fear developed because it kept resulting badly. Yeah. Yeah, and that's then that fear is pattern recognition more than anything else. Where you see an instance and you are reminded of past patterns. It's sort of it was conditioned. Okay, so I have just been notified that we are under a tornado warning. I think anyway, severe tornado or severe thunderstorm. Both are kind of bad. So if I disappear, that's why. Now I want to thunderstorms. Okay, because I just hear the National Weather Service thing going off. Be safe. I'm always safe. So trigger warnings help you guess, since if you're not in the right headspace to face it, you don't make it worse for yourself. I'm still not a fan. I understand the sentiment behind them. And I can see their usefulness, but I think it breeds a kind of psychological weakness, because the real world isn't going to warn you when it punches you in the face. Microdose, if you will. Yeah, that's exposure therapy, Chase. But also facing things you aren't ready for prepare you for things you aren't ready for. Also, facing things you aren't ready for prepares you for things you aren't ready for. Yeah. And life is gonna throw hands against everyone. And if you're afraid of being emotionally triggered, so that's the thing about trigger warnings, is that you're preparing someone to have an intense emotional reaction. Life took all of your teeth. That's one hell of a punch. It's emotional immaturity, I suppose, is probably the best way for me to explain why I don't like trigger warnings. Life threw hands with you immediately. Same. I should not be alive. I was in the hospital for like my entire year, the entire first year of my life, with like bronchitis and other like lung issues. Yeah. So, oh my god. Did you hear that thunder? It's starting. But so, like, if you're not able to control your emotions, then you're not really able to live life. You just got childhood neglect and abuse. Everyone, the great wetting of the world's beginning, the great flood has started. Everyone suffers. Sora, this is something that I've come to realize, that everyone suffers. Suffering is not unique to any one person, but the way that we suffer is individual. But we cannot allow that suffering to determine who we are, because then everyone would be a miserable pile of shit. And so, like, while I sympathize, I wasn't neglected as a child, and I didn't have any like physical abuse like that, so I can't put myself in your shoes, but I would say, like, my condolences, I suppose, probably the best way to put it. Like, I'm sorry that you went through that. But the question that you have to ask yourself is, would I be the person that I am today if that didn't happen to me? And that's a very deeply uncomfortable question to ask yourself, and I understand that. And you may not want to ask yourself that question, but I think it's an important question. Where, like, would I be as strong, or would I be as empathetic, or would I be as congenial, I suppose, if that bad thing didn't happen to me? And going through my personal life of multitudes of illnesses that almost killed me, that are still trying to kill me, would I wish my life to have been different? And I honestly can't say with certainty that I would change my past if I could. Because despite all of the agony and the misery that we go through, we are who we are because of what we've gone through. No, and you've already acknowledged that a long time ago. Okay. So you've had these thoughts before, so do you know yourself a little bit more than you realize? My god, there's a lot of notifications going off. So I should probably start wrapping this up. This is episode 1 of Monday Musings. We started with Fear is Not Final. We did talk about fear for about an hour, and then we just started sort of rambled. But thank you everyone for showing up. I want this to be a weekly thing, but I don't know if I will be able to do that, if I'll have enough topics. Eventually I want this to be sort of like a Q&A session where someone asks me a question and I just like ramble on about my opinion on that subject, sort of like what we did today, the latter half of the stream. But I really enjoyed this, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. I hope someone found some value in this, because that's generally just what I want to do, is I want to provide value to someone who needs to hear something. And while what I say may not exactly be positive, may not be like, you can do this motivation, positivity sort of stuff, life isn't positive. You need the hard truths sometime, and I'm in a unique position to understand those hard truths and be able to say them in a way that isn't asshole-ish, I suppose is probably the best way to put it. It's like I do try to come at this with a attitude of empathy and understanding that what I'm saying is hard to put into practice and is deeply uncomfortable, but it's necessary to do if you want to be the best version of yourself that you can be. At least you don't have to do it, and you still can live a life of an NPC, I suppose, if you want that. But I genuinely believe that understanding the truth of life is a better way to live than just letting life happen to you. This little dog is your comfort emote, I could tell. But genuinely, I want to thank everyone for showing up and stopping by, and even though I didn't advertise it, I am surprised so many people are showing up. I always stream at this time, so maybe it's just people like understanding the routine. But we'll see if there's anyone online that I can raid and send you guys off to. I can't send you off to like a similar vibe because, as far as I know, I'm the only one vibing. Oh, Merlin's streaming. You saw you were streaming on Discord. Yeah. That's the only advertisement I did. So we're gonna be going over to Merlin Finch for reasons. So we're gonna go say hi to him. He's currently drawing. I don't know what exactly he's drawing. Probably something. But we're gonna go show him some love. 7 viewers. Whoa, 8. Whoa, 9. How many people are watching? I didn't expect that. But see you guys later. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope you guys find the strength to push through whatever you're struggling with. So I will see you guys around.